Guys, I'm done coping about the fighting nerds. Unfortunately, the co-main event didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but hey, it was still a pretty good card, so I'm gonna be covering every single fight on this card, starting with the main event, all the way down to the early prelims. So yeah, without wasting any more time, let's jump right into the video. For the main event, we got Nassourdine Imavov versus Caio Borralho. Nassourdine Imavov wins by 50-45 decision. I don't agree with that scorecard whatsoever. Do I think Nasruddin Imavov won? Yes. However, I thought that this fight could have gone very 48-47-ish. All right. Like, I thought that Kyle Borralho clearly won round three, and round five was a little bit of a toss up. And let me just say this, throughout the entire fight, Nasruddin Imavov kept darting his fingers into Kyle Borralho's eyes. All right. If this were in anywhere else in the world but Paris, Nasruddin Imavov gets a point taken off, and this fight's a draw. All right, I'm just saying. But unfortunately, we're in Paris. They don't call fouls for French fighters, and for some reason, the judges are scoring rounds where, like, it could be like a swing round to Kyle Borralho, or like Kyle Borralho like kind of outlanded Nasruddin Imavov by a lot. Yeah, I don't know. The French, they're pretty corrupt, all right? But hey, that's what's to be expected for home country fighters. Nasruddin Imavov did prove to be the better fighter, all right? I will admit that, all right? I thought Nasruddin Imavov was the much faster fighter, and Caio Borralho was kind of dead on the tracks, all right? He couldn't really get anything off. His 1-2 didn't really work effectively because Nasruddin Imavov kept countering him every time Caio Borralho tried to step back. The takedowns weren't really there for Borralho. Nasruddin Imavov was able to defend nearly all of them. So Nasruddin Imavov, while I do think he cheated a lot during this fight, he was the much better fighter in this fight. So I will say this. Imavov does deserve a title shot. Now, will the UFC give Nasruddin Imavov the next title shot? He should get it, but unfortunately, he might not, because if the winner between Fluffy Hernandez and Rainer de Ritter uh win their fight via exciting finish, then yeah, I could see the UFC definitely skipping out on Nasruddin Imavov once more. And that's actually a shame because although you might not think that Imavov has a chance against Chimaev, and I don't really either, I still think that Imavov deserves the next title shot. Like, he's beaten Kaya Borralho, he's beaten Israel Adesanya, he's beaten Roman Dolidze, he's beaten Brendan Allen, he's beaten Jared Cannonier. Like, Nasruddin Imavov's win streak against top contender after top contender needs to be taken note of. All right, I believe that Nasruddin Imavov, although he has like what a 25% chance against Hamza Chimaev, that's what I'll give him. There are some good things that Imavov can really do. All right, by far, I think Imavov's the best boxer in this division. His speed is absolutely off the chart compared to every other middleweight on the roster, and he's getting a better and better at like defending takedowns and just keeping the fight the way he wants it to. So overall, Nasruddin Imavov, I'd say it was a good fight. All right, I was pretty salty about it again because again, Caio Borralho, fighting nerds, one of my favorite fighters, and we'll get to Mauricio Rufy in a second. But yeah, overall, outside the cope, I thought it was a pretty good fight, and Nasruddin Imavov proved to be the better fighter over the course of 5 rounds. All right, now moving on, we got Benoit Saint-Denis versus Mauricio Rufy. Now, unlike the main event, there's no controversy with this. Benoit Saint-Denis absolutely schooled Mauricio Rufy. All right, BSD just marauded forward and took Mauricio Rufy down at will. Mauricio Rufy at times was able to circle off the fence, but the one thing I really was shocked about was the fact that Mauricio Rufy chose not to engage in the guard. For some reason, Mauricio Rufy was very hesitant to engage in the guard of Benoit Saint-Denis. And I understand that BSD is the much better grappler. However, I thought that Mauricio Rufy would stay in the guard in order to try and, get some damage off. Maybe like a hold position for a while. Like I did think that Mauricio Rufy could have won that if he chose to engage the guard. But for some reason, every time Rufy reverse position and was on top. He decided to immediately let BSD up, and BSD, taking advantage of the opportunity, marauded forward with body kicks and head kicks, getting the hands up for Mauricio Rufy before shooting another double leg and taking him down. And in the second round, BSD was able to get the back of Mauricio Rufy and sink in a rear naked choke. Absolutely nasty stuff. Lucas Tracy's favorite fighter's back. All right. I wouldn't be surprised if Lucas Tracy puts Benoit Saint-Denis like in top 20 of his GOAT list. All right. It was a pretty good win. All right. I did kind of overrate Mauricio Rufy a little bit, I guess, but I think that a lot of people did as well. So, yeah, Benoit Saint-Denis wins. There are actually true levels to this in the lightweight division. So, fair play. He gets the job done in a rather exciting performance. I'll say that. All right, now up next, we move on. Feature fight: Modestas Bukauskas versus Paul Craig. Yeah, what to say about this fight? Paul Craig dies once again. Modestas Bukauskas just puts away Paul Craig into the shadow realm. Nothing else to really talk about because Paul Craig, I mean, it's kind of a given that he's probably gonna get chinned brutally. Paul Craig just kind of pulled guard and decided to just give up his back. And eventually, Modestas Bukauskas landed some nasty elbows. And then Paul Craig could not walk up at the end of the first round. All right. And the referee called the fight off as a result. Paul Craig then decided to retire. I think that's a good choice for Paul Craig. All right. On the one hand, I will miss the highlight reel KOs where Paul Craig is repeatedly knocked the fuck out. But at the same time, Paul Craig is now 37 years old. He does not need to be repeatedly knocked the fuck out over and over again. So, Paul Craig, thank you for the memories. Surprisingly, the only man to beat Magomed Ankalaev. All right. That's actually crazy now that you think about it. So yeah, Paul Craig, he had a great career, but unfortunately, he's been getting chinned one too many times. And as for Modestas Bukauskas, do I think this was the most impressive name value win? No. Paul Craig is kind of a walking corpse at this point. However, Modestas Bukauskas is now on a 4-fight win streak, so I do believe that he deserves a ranked opponent. Maybe someone like Alonzo Manyfield, maybe someone like Zhang Ming Yang, because Zhang Ming Yang is coming off a loss to Johnny Walker. I just think that Modestas Bukauskas deserves his jump up in the rankings because, again, you don't really see that many light heavyweights go on 4 or 5 fight win streaks. All right, Modestas Bukauskas clearly stands out from the rest, so I'm gonna say that Modestas Bukauskas, he might even do a good job getting back into the rankings. It's just a matter of who he fights. All right, moving on, we got Balaji Oki versus Mason Jones. Yeah, I love Mason Jones. Mason Jones is actually awesome. This was an insane fight while it lasted. Balaji Oki dropped Mason Jones very badly in the first round. I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea how Mason Jones survived this. But once Mason Jones was able to get back up on the feet, he proceeded to break down Balaji Oki with pressure, and eventually he was able to get the fight to the ground and kind of ragdoll him. And more or less the second round, except Balaji Oki couldn't find that many shots on the feet. And Mason Jones was able to hip toss him, get him into side control, and proceeded to get into mount before throwing the nastiest elbows I have ever seen. So Mason Jones, uh, he's a very sick fighter, all right? I love Mason Jones. Mason Jones is one of my new favorite fighters in the light weight division, at least in the unranked area. All right. And we kind of proved out in this card that there are levels to lightweight. Like we all thought that Mauricio Rufy was gonna chin Benoit Saint-Denis, and then Benoit Saint-Denis fraud checked Mauricio Rufy in the co-main event. So I am going to hold off on giving Mason Jones like big jumps up in competition. However, I do believe that Mason Jones is a noteworthy name, and I wouldn't be surprised given like 2 years' time, he might find himself in the rankings of the lightweight division. All right, now moving on, we got Axel Sola versus Reese McKee. What to say about this fight? Reese McKee, he's got that dog in him. I'll say that. All right. Unfortunately, Axel Sola was just much better than him on the feet. Repeatedly busted Reese McKee open, and Reese McKee was landing them shots, but they weren't nearly as impactful as Axel Sola's. And I will say this, however, the stoppage from Herb Dean was really bad. All right. It will say like body shot TKO on Typology or whatever website you guys use to get the recap specifically, but Reese McKee did not get body shot TKO'd. Reese McKee was trying to go for a single leg, and then Axel Solo was able to stuff the single leg as Reese McKee falls onto the floor, and Axel Solo followed up with some shots. And as Reese McKee was trying to build himself back up, Herb Dean, for some reason, decides to stop the fight. I have no idea why Herb Dean has been doing this lately. He hasn't really done this back when he was in his heyday, but recently he's been doing really bad. All right, Herb Dean, if he does this in like a really important fight, I do think it's time for him to be let go of because this is not a one-time offense. I can't really name fights off the top of my head, but I do know that Herb Dean has been doing this for quite some time. So Axel Sola, still, I do think he was winning all 3 rounds. However, it's unfortunate that Herb Dean stepped in the way he did because that was one of the earliest stoppages I've ever seen. All right, now moving on, we got William Gomez versus Robert Ruchala. Yeah, William Gomez just kind of outstruck Robert Ruchala on the feet, and Robert Ruchala couldn't really get anything done with the grappling. Yeah, that's kind of the story of the fight, all right? William Gomez kind of won this in typical William Gomez fashion, 30-27, where he basically just kind of did barely anything, all right? It's very frustrating watching William Gomez fight, not gonna lie. Robert Ruchala, he was trying to pressure forward. Unfortunately, he does not have the striking capabilities to do so. And even when he took the fight onto the ground, he was not able to do much of anything against William Gomez. William Gomez, I'll give him this, did a very good job of defending all the takedowns. And even when he was taken down, he did a good job of building himself back up against Feds. So William Gomez wins this fight 30-27. I don't really care for William Gomez. All right, I will still be hate watching him because again, I hate his style. Was it that bad of a fight? No, like I've seen worse William Gomez's performances, but again, I just don't really like the style. So, congrats for the win, but I don't really care. Right now, moving on, we got Omar Sy versus Brenton Ribeiro. Omar Sy just puts away Brenton Ribeiro in the first round. Was it by ground and pound TKO? Yeah, I think it was. All right. Throughout the whole fight, Omar Sy just kept shooting takedowns over and over again. Brenton Ribeiro was trying to land some dangerous shots. Unfortunately, he kept whiffing all of them, and Omar Sy proved to be the better grappler overall. And eventually, I think it was by the third takedown, Brenton Ribeiro was kind of a fish out of water as Omar Sy was able to get past the guard into mount and proceeded to land some devastating ground and pound shots. Omar Sy, I will say this, looked a lot better in this fight than when he fought Alonzo Menifield. I have no idea how Alonzo Menifield won the fight, let alone make Omar Sy look that mid. But props to Omar Sy, I guess, because he bounced back. Is he going to get a top 15 opponent soon? No, he's not. I think he needs one or two more. But hey, it's the light heavyweight division. The division's very shallow, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets like what Zhang Mingyang in his next fight. All right, do I think he deserves it? Not necessarily, but yeah, we need some prospects in the light heavyweight division. All right, now up next we got Marcin Tybura versus Ante Delia. Ante Delia is an actual legit heavyweight with athleticism, and that is just more than enough for Marcin Tybura. Ante Delia gets the first round knockout. Tybura was trying to take the fight to the ground, But Dalia can actually stuff takedowns. He actually understands what grappling is. And on the feet, Marcin Tybura. If you don't have athleticism, he can fraud check you. But Ante Dalia is an athletic heavyweight with devastating knockout power. And unfortunately, Marcin Tybura kind of crumbled. So Ante Dalia, I don't know. He's bare minimum top five right now. Unfortunately, we're not gonna see him fight Tom Aspinall because they're training partners. They've been training for the longest time together, and during when Ante Delia was in the PFL, Tom Aspinall was his main training partner. But once Tom Aspinall leaves, vacates, I don't know, or like he loses the belt by somehow to Cyril Gahn of all people, I can see Ante Delia being the next up and potentially becoming a UFC heavyweight champion because again his skills are very good and he's training with Tom Aspinall, so they must be getting better. All right, Ante Lilia gets the first round knockout. Give him like Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, somewhere around like 3 or 4 range because again he proved to be top five level. All right, I can see Ante Lilia winning those fights, but I can also see him losing those fights because again Sergey Pavlovich, he's pretty good, and Alexander Volkov is also pretty good. So good job for Ante Dalia. Hope to see him fight someone within the top five of the heavyweight division soon. All right, now up next we got Harry Hardwick versus Kawe Fernandez. Harry Hardwick, uh, his legs are absolutely mincemeat. Kawe Fernandez hooks Harry Hardwick in the first round. Not much to really break down about this fight other than the leg kicks. All right, Harry Hardwick couldn't really get any offense going. Takedowns weren't really there for him. On the feet, Harry Hardwick wasn't really able to cut Kai Fernandez off against the cage. Kai Fernandez just in his karate stance, chopping at the leg kicks, and eventually just got a leg kick TKO against Harry Hardwick. You know, it's actually pretty impressive. Kai Fernandez is kind of on a streak. I always thought that Caio Fernandez was like kind of a scrub, but he's on a 3 fight win streak now, so I do believe that he deserves a jump up in competition. I still believe that he'll lose to guys like Fares Siam later down on the line, but if you let him build up, who knows? Maybe he might be the next Fares Siam. Like maybe he'll go on like a 7 fight win streak looking for a ranked opponent. So Caio Fernandez, yeah, I thought he was actually looking very good. And it's clear what he's actually good at. And he's actually got devastating leg kicks and just kicks in general, which I didn't really think was going to be that good because he's been consistently chopping at the legs of opponents, and opponents have been repeatedly going down, like Guram Kutaladze. So, Cali Fernandez, great win against Harry Hardwick. Do I think Harry Hardwick's the best level of opposition? No. He is from Cage Warriors. I do not rate most Cage Warriors prospects, but I do think there's a future for Kai Fernandez because it's clear he has some talent with the leg kicks. And as for Harry Hardwick, uh, I guess he'll fight at 145. I don't really care. I don't think he's that good in the first place, so we'll see who he fights, and that'll decide whether we keep him in the UFC or not. All right, now up next we got Sam Patterson versus Trey Waters. Sam Patterson's actually legit. Sam Patterson gets his fourth first round finish. All right, and Trey Waters I thought was going to be able to keep distance a little bit better against Sam Patterson, but Sam Patterson did a very good job of tightening the guard and landing precise punches. And Trey Waters was practically out on his feet, doing the Irish jig and all that. All right, Sam Patterson puts away Trey Waters via TKO, standing TKO. But this was one of the standing TKOs that I could justify because Trey Waters was not really doing anything to fight back. And it's clear now Sam Patterson does deserve a big jump up in competition. Probably give him someone just outside the rankings, all right? Maybe like who's like someone outside the rankings that's good? Maybe like a Randy Brown-ish type of fighter, right? I could see Sam Patterson getting one of those types of matchups, or give him someone within the top 15. I'm 12 to 15 range, I guess. Yeah, but either way, I do think Sam Patterson's very good. All right, he has been looking legit ever since he moved up to welterweight. So, yeah, hats off to Sam Patterson. He's proving a lot of doubters wrong, and he's now looking for a ranked opponent in the welterweight division very soon. All right, now moving on, we got Robert Bryczek versus Brad Tavares. Robert Bryczek just puts away Brad Tavares in the third round. I did not really expect this. This is the same guy who lost to Eor Potieria. And as much as I love Eor Potieria, if you're losing to Eor Potieria on short notice, I'm going to consider you dog shit. But hey, Robert Bryczek puts away Brad Tavares, who I rate kind of as a much better fighter. So there's that. All right, Brychek came in aggressive, looking to box up Brad Tavares. Now, Brad Tavares, all right, I will say this. Why aren't you not shooting more offensive takedowns? All right, for some reason, Brad Tavares decided to put all of his skill points into takedown defense, and he's just absolutely mid everywhere else. All right, like Robert Brychick was doing a good job pressuring Brad Tavares up against the fence, but Brad Tavares didn't really throw much of anything. He just kind of tapped low kicks at range. It kind of switched into like switch kicks at times, but he was having success on the ground. All right, Brad Tavares shot a takedown on the first round after Robert Brychick badly dropped him and was having him up against the fence. And Brad Tavares, all right, after shooting the takedown, proceeded to do none of that in rounds 2 and 3. It's a very frustrating thing to watch. I don't know what's up with these Eric Nixick fighters. All right, these guys are sparring merchants who don't really like try to win fights. All right, that's Brad Tavares right now as well. So Robert Brychek, I will say though, looked a lot better than when he fought Eor Potieria. So I guess Robert Brychek's actually pretty good, and he's actually looking, I don't know, very solid. So I hope to see him fight someone like maybe like a Christian Leroy Duncan. I think that's like a reasonable matchup soon. But either way, this was a lot better than what I expected out of Robert Brychek. So hey, fair play. And as for Brad Tavares, I think it's time for him to retire. All right, now up next we got Andreas Gustafsson versus Renat Fakhretdinov. What to say about this fight? Renat Fakhretdinov KO'd Andreas Gustafsson. This was an absolute insane fight for as long as it lasted. All right, 54 seconds of Andreas Gustafsson just trying to maraud forward and swing aggressive shots. But after the first 30 seconds and all the haymakers were thrown, Renat Fakhretdinov started to pick apart Andreas Gustafsson. And while I don't really believe that he hit Gustafsson with the hardest shots, it was enough to badly damage Gustafsson. You can see Gustafsson starting to wobble as Renat Fakhretdinov repeatedly lands the right hand. And eventually Gustafsson crumbles. Fakhretdinov gets the finish. Again, I didn't really expect this. Like, Fakhretdinov made it close with Carlos Leal. Actually, no, he didn't make it close. He clearly lost that fight. He made it close with Nicholas Dalby. He almost got finished by Elijah Zaleski dos Santos in the third round. All right, these are not really things I look at and go, "Wow, he's going to chin Andreas Gustafsson in the first round." But hey, Renat Fakhretdinov chinned Andreas Gustafsson in the first round. And I guess we can't really doubt him anymore. All right, because Andreas Gustafsson looked like someone who can compete in the top 15 off his debut against Chaos Williams. And Renat Fakhretdinov just shut that down. So I wouldn't be surprised now if the UFC actually try to give Renat Fakhretdinov a jump up in competition. Actually give him someone who maybe be outside the rankings, maybe someone within the top 13 to 15. But either way, this was actually really impressive from Renat Fakhretdinov, and I don't really say that often. So good job. And last but not least, Sean Bannon versus Sam Hughes. Sean Bannon gets absolutely ragdolled by Sam Hughes in the second for 2 rounds straight. Sam Hughes finds the rear naked choke after just controlling Sean Bannon in the first round, landing some nasty elbows, just ragdolling Sean Bannon at will. Shauna Bannon did not really come out like her usual self, right? Usually, what happens in a Shauna Bannon fight, she just keeps throwing that annoying ass sidekick to keep distance. And that's how she kind of wins fights by like eking out split decisions because opponents don't know how to get past the sidekick. But Shauna Bannon didn't really do anything like that. She just kind of backed up against the fence and Sam Hughes was able to take advantage of that by repeatedly trying to take Sean Abana down. And Sam Hughes was able to find the rear naked choke. Not much to really talk about. I'm not spending that much time breaking this fight down. But Sam Hughes, I think she's on like a what 4 fight win streak now, which is absolutely insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gets to win within the top 15. Crazy to say that Sam Hughes is getting a top 15 opponent in 2025, but hey, Sam Hughes has actually put the work, so hopefully she gets what she deserves, which is someone within the rankings. If y'all want to see more videos like this, please make sure to like and subscribe so I can get this channel monetized and I don't have to work at my part-time job. But other than that, though, leave a comment down below what you guys thought about the Paris card. Again, outside of the bias coping, I thought it was an 8 out of 10. All right, so I thought it was a pretty good card. But if you disagree, feel free to let me know. But other than that, I'll probably see you guys later. Peace.